Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Hatim bin Ilmi and my text number is A214550 and I'm going to explain about the legal framework of Malay Reserve Land. So, firstly, historically registered in red ink on document of title, Malay Reserve Land represent a highly specialized state-governed category of land holding. This tenure restrict property transactions strictly to native Malay interests. The framework originated from the 1913 enactment, which was designed to prevent peasant land displacement during the rubber and tin booms. And currently, this land category is elevated to absolute constitution protection under Article 89 and 90. The Federal Constitution preserves pre-Merdeka Malay Reserve Land, and the Constitution also mandates that any revoked reservation lands must be replaced with equivalent areas, and simultaneously, the Constitution strictly protects non-Malay land ownership rights.
Okay, so now for the legal framework, which constitutionally protected under Article 89 and 90. A major issue within this framework is the torrents collision. The National Land Code operates on an open market torrent system but explicitly yields to state Malay Reserve Land enactments. This clash between an open market and MRL's protective rigidities creates significant developmental and administrative friction. And this friction is worsened by extreme state variance as there is no single unified law. For instance, the Federated Malay States impose an absolute ban on transfers on non-Malays. Kedah, however, uniquely allows charges to non-Malay banks, and Kelantan restricts ownership strictly to native of Kelantan, excluding Malays from other states. Meanwhile, Johor expands its definition to Malay to include specific scheduled corporate entities and state statutory bodies. And ultimately, while this legal framework successfully protects historical indigenous interests, the inconsistencies and rigid transfer limits cause artificial illiquidity and economic stagnation in modern developments. This highlights an urgent need for legal harmonisation.
So next, the case study and socio-economic impact. The legal reality is demonstrated in the case of Zaliha binti Sahari against pendaftar hak milik Johor. A Malay woman owned a land in Johor but later become a Singaporean citizen. A subsequent administrative ruling changed the definition of Malay to include only Malay citizens, and then she was suddenly reclassified as a non-Malay, leaving her unable to pass the land to her children. So the High Court intervened and used its judicial discretion to delete the Malay reservation status from her land title to prevent extreme injustice. And this case highlights that rigid shifting definition of who counts as a Malay across state boundaries can strip individuals of their property right. And socio-economically, the framework was highly effective at protecting native land rights historically. However, modern rigid transfer limits cause artificial illiquidity, severely cap property valuation, and high vacancy rates in urban developments. Okay, now for the critical discussion and group opinions. First, the doctrinal friction and legal disunity. First, the torrents versus protectionism. Clash between the National Land Court Open Market System, Section 340, and the rigid protectionist nature of state reservation laws. And also, second, the inconsistent definitions as absent of a single unified law lead to regional disparities. And then the power tension, where ongoing boundary dispute between executive finality and the judiciary powers to interpret law. And second, for the socio-economic paradox, the first is the historical success, highly effective at protecting native land rights and preventing total land displacement during the colonial era. And second is modern economic stagnation. The rigid transfer limits the cost artificial illiquidity, resulting in severely capped property valuations and high vacancy rates in urban development. And for recommendation, we have harmonisation, where align state enactment with the National Land Code to eliminate legal uncertainties. And second is strategic frameworks, where establish specialized financial system and centralized bodies to consolidate the fragmented land without losing constitutional protection. And finally, for the recommendation and the conclusion, the Malay Reserve Land Framework remains essential in protecting Malay land ownership and preserving indigenous interests. However, conflict between the National Land Code and state enactments create legal inconsistencies. The restriction on ownership and land dealings have reduced to the marketability and development potential of this land. So we can recommend harmonizing the laws to align state enactments with the National Land Code, and improving this consistency will reduce legal uncertainty. We also recommend enhancing land development mechanisms by introducing effective financing and land management frameworks. This requires establishing specialized financial system and centralized bodies to consolidate fragmented land without losing constitutional protection. Thank you.